I'm Ellie La Liberté with what we know about the arrest of the father of the Abundant Life Christian School shooter.
And a new pope is elected. The reaction from Catholics here in Wisconsin.
Plus, a Sun Prairie mother is celebrating being cancer-free, how her pregnancy helped doctors detect her rare disease. That is all coming up on News 3 Now at 10, live from Madison. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Sarah Carlson.
And I'm Eric Franke. We are continuing our coverage tonight after police arrested the father of the Abundant Life Christian School shooter. In December, his 15-year-old daughter started shooting at ALCS, killing a teacher and student and injuring 6 others.
And then she did die from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. We have team coverage tonight breaking down the arrest and investigation of her father. Let's start with our Ellie La Liberté, who was at a news conference earlier today to get the latest update from Madison police.
Jeffrey Ruppnow was arrested around 4 in the morning on Thursday, just 5 months after the deadly school shooting. He's facing 2 felony counts of intentionally giving a minor a dangerous weapon, resulting in death, and 1 count of contributing to child delinquency.
The items recovered were disturbing. They were alarming.
The arrest of the ALCS school shooter's father providing some new insight to how December 16th became a tragedy. Like how the shooter was able to get the 2 guns recovered from the school.
These firearms were purchased legally at stores here in Dane County. They were purchased by the shooter's father, Jeffrey Ruppnow.
Police also searched Ruppnow's home the day of the shooting with consent. Investigators interviewed him. They say he claimed to have not known about his daughter's plans.
We may never fully understand that motive.
However, the shooter's, quote, high-risk online presence providing some insight to that question.
We do know the teenager had a fascination with weapons and school shootings. She often talked about them with people she met online, people from all over the world.
People like a man in Florida, arrested last week after being accused of planning a mass shooting at a law enforcement agency. Later, he was found to have an online connection with the ALCS shooter. Madison police say the investigation is still ongoing.
This case is now in the hands of the district attorney.
We are expecting Ruppnow to make an initial appearance in court on Friday. Reporting in Madison, Ellie La Liberté, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Ellie. Now, 1 student is remaining in critical condition tonight following that shooting. At today's press conference, Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway also continuing her call from back in December for, quote, common sense gun laws. Well, we're also learning more about what led to the shooting and today's felony charges from the criminal complaint.
Our Maddie Himes joins us now in studio to go through interviews that police conducted with Ruppnow and evidence collected from his home. Maddie?
I was as proactive as I could be. That's what Jeffrey Ruppnow told investigators when they questioned him about monitoring his child. But the criminal complaint shows Ruppnow keeping numerous guns in the home while aware of his child's ongoing mental health problems today, leading to those 3 felony charges.
One is what I would characterized as a firearms violation.
According to the criminal complaint, when investigators first contacted Ruppnow the day of the shooting, he told them there should be 12 guns in the home locked in a safe. But when police searched the home, only 8 were there.
The other charge is related to the delinquency of a minor.
Reports show Ruppnow was aware of his daughter's mental health problems and suicidal ideations, yet kept the guns largely available to her.
What they're claiming is pretty much unfettered access to a variety of firearms in the home.
Ruppnow had taken one of the guns out of the safe the day before the shooting at his daughter's request, later telling investigators he couldn't remember if the gun was returned to the safe before he closed it back up. In their search of the home, police also found a manifesto in which Ruppnow's daughter idolizes previous school shooters, detailed floor plans of ALCS, and a camcorder with videos of the shooter handling guns and talking about killings and massacres.
Some real visible signs of an overt fascination with mass shootings, with expressing ideas around committing violent acts.
In 2021, when questioned about his child's suicidal tendencies through therapy notes, Ruppnow said, quote, "I don't take it too seriously." And a year later, in June of 2022, Madison police contacted him about what they called high-risk behavior his daughter was engaging in on the internet.
If a parent can see that happening in front of them and then simultaneously allows the child to have access to firearms in the home. I think that may be a prominent aspect of the prosecution's case.
And when asked why his daughter was allowed to pack and unpack the safe when the guns came out, Rupnow told investigators, quote, "I didn't feel like I needed to babysit her with this."
We're starting to see this like, well, we know you didn't pull the trigger, but we feel like you should have done something to stop it.
And like we heard from Ellie, Rupnow is set to make his initial appearance in court tomorrow. That's scheduled for 1:30.
All right, thank you, Maddie. To weather now, frost is possible overnight in southern Wisconsin.
Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington on our weather patio here in Madison with just how chilly it might get, Alex.
Yep, down into the low to mid 30s, upper 30s if you're lucky tonight. If you haven't brought in your tender plants, this is stuff from out here in the patio that we had up against the side here. That might provide some protection, but it's a good night to just bring them in to err on the safe side. We have frost advisories in effect from 1 a.m. till 8 a.m. for most of the area. And I've been mentioning this in all newscasts from 4 all the way till now. Crawford, Grant, and Lafayette counties, you do stand the chance of potentially seeing a little bit of patchy frost tonight. So cover the plants tonight or bring them in if you haven't done so already. This is what we're up against. 33 for low temperatures in Camp Douglas and the Dells, 35 in Lone Rock, 34 in Madison, and even that 35 degrees or even that 37 in Platteville. In some of those low-lying areas, you're still susceptible to seeing that thermometer, that mercury drop down a little bit lower, and that poses that patchy frost chance across all of southern Wisconsin, not just those areas that are in the frost advisory. But once we get into Friday, we're warm, then 80-degree temperatures by the end of the weekend, including Mother's Day. How long that warm weather lasts, and if we can get any rain in the next 10 days, I'll let you know when I come back in a few minutes, and I'm going to come back in and bring our plant in.
Sounds good, Alex. Thank you. The world has a new pope, and for the first time in history, he is an American. Emerging from St. Peter's Basilica, Robert Prevost takes the name Leo XIV, the pontiff born in 1955 in Chicago. He spent his career in Peru, working for nearly 20 years as a missionary.
He's the least American. I mean, that's, I think, what made him electable.
It's just everything. Once in a lifetime. It is a once in a lifetime, and
for us to be here in this moment.
Just so blessed and grateful.
Prevost is seen as a progressive on many social issues. Overall viewed, though, as a centrist. Like Pope Francis, Prevost has spent time embracing marginalized groups such as the poor.
And back here in Madison, Catholics celebrated the news by ringing bells at St. James Church. With Pope Leo's missionary background, Madison Bishop Donald Hying hopes the pontiff brings that attitude to the role when spreading the faith to places like Africa, among other hopes for his vision.
Continue Pope Francis' focus on missionary discipleship, continued vigilance and action regarding the clergy sexual abuse crisis, which the church has been dealing with and has certainly implemented many appropriate safeguards.
Bishop Hying calling today momentous for his faith around the country, and he says Americans should be proud.
The U.S. and United Kingdom announced a new trade deal today, and while the president's 10% baseline tariff remains in place, the deal scales back the levies imposed on British vehicles, steel, and aluminum. In exchange for the partial tariff relief, the British are opening up their markets to more American goods.
It's going to exponentially increase our beef exports, and to be very clear, American beef is the safest, the best quality, and the crown jewel of American agriculture for the world.
President Trump said this trade agreement is the first of many deals he expects to secure with trade partners looking to negotiate in light of his sweeping tariffs.
With the Real ID deadline here, organizations are hoping more people take the time to save a life as well. The rush to get a Real ID has left thousands practicing their patience, and organ procurement organizations around the country are asking those waiting to consider the more than 100,000 people on the national transplant list waiting for an organ.
17 people on that 100,000 wait list will run out of time today. They woke up this morning and their families will say goodbye today.
More than 90% of organ donor registrations come through the DMV.
It's a big week for one Sun Prairie woman as she celebrates Mother's Day and being 1 year of free of a rare cancer. Last February, Lydia Dutcher had a complicated childbirth, resulting in her needing to be treated for an infection, and that led to doctors testing her placenta and diagnosing her with a cancer called choriocarcinoma. The disease affects about 1 in every 100,000 pregnancies in the United States every year.
I was also told a lot by my oncology team that this is a really highly curable cancer, even though like it did spread to my lungs and it was a stage 3 cancer. Nobody wants to hear that you have stage 3 cancer, but yeah, it's treatable and you can get through it.
Lydia underwent 10 weeks of chemotherapy and was declared cancer-free in April of last year. Doctors also used a pregnancy test to determine that Lydia's son did not have cancer. When we come back, Alex tells us about the potential for 80-degree temperatures coming our way.
And health research is in limbo after federal funding cuts. We'll look at the impact this could have on a breakthrough epilepsy treatment in Madison. Stay with us.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
For the millions of Americans living with epilepsy, holding out for hope can feel like holding your breath. And that's true as President Trump's federal health cuts put research for new treatments in limbo. Researchers at a local lab in Madison are waiting to see what happens next for their work.
In the meantime, they're giving us a look at a potential breakthrough that could bring people with epilepsy closer to a cure. Brady Mallory has more.
Healthy mice, young and old.
When most people look at a mouse, they see a pest. Olivia Hoffman sees
it's like a puzzle.
One the UW-Madison researcher wants to solve.
I was always interested in science.
In this case, the puzzle is epilepsy. Hoffman and her colleague, Avtar Rupra, are looking at what causes it and how to treat it.
And when you meet parents, especially parents of children with epilepsy, it is heartbreaking.
For the more than 3.4 million Americans who have it, the neurological condition comes with repeated unprovoked seizures. And it takes away so much.
Simple things like not being able to drive, right? That's going to have a massive impact on people. Always living with the worry that you might have a seizure at work or at home. It's catastrophic. Oh, there we go.
There are about 40 approved medications to treat it. But if these two have their way, there might be one more.
We originally weren't looking for this drug in particular.
Oh, wow. Oh, my.
Hoffman and Rupra recently found these mice with epilepsy responded to a drug called tofacitinib. It's FDA approved to treat arthritis, and it's already on the market.
We can repurpose it to treat mice which are having seizures many times a day. And when we give it to them for just 2 weeks, the seizures abate to almost zero.
No more seizures, and Rupra says there's even more good news. Medications to treat epilepsy can have a number of different side effects, including brain fog. They aren't seeing any of these side effects in the mice treated with tofacitinib.
It appears that the mice, at least, have normal brain function restored, so they can navigate their mazes and do mouse things, just like mice that do not have epilepsy.
For Hoffman, the finding is personal.
I used to have seizures as a kid, and I was one of the lucky kids who, I had seizures and I was prescribed a medication and eventually weaned off of it, and I ended up okay, but I know that's not the case for a lot of people.
Hoffman and Rupra hope there will eventually be a clinical trial to test this drug on people.
So even though it's already used in humans for other conditions, we need to know that for epilepsy in humans, it is going to be safe and effective.
There is a lot more work to do before you could see this drug approved to treat epilepsy. But Hoffman hopes they are this much closer to that final piece of the puzzle.
It would be the biggest honor. I mean, that's the goal of doing science, right? Is to hope that one day it will help other people.
Thank you so much, Brady. Now, Hoffman and Rupra say the next steps toward human clinical trials include a review from the National Institutes of Health, which is paused indefinitely due to the funding changes. But in the meantime, you can help make a difference for people with epilepsy. It's at the Epilepsy Foundation of Wisconsin's Walk. It's an event in Madison this Saturday at McKee Farms Park in Fitchburg. You can still register at epilepsywisconsin.org. We'll see you there, and you can check in for the event beginning at 9 a.m.
Frost may be on its way to the Madison region, but so could some 80-degree weather.
Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington tells us when we will see this major warm-up.
All we got to do is just get through one night, and that's tonight. Frost is likely tonight on our frost and freeze tracker, and then that's it, at least for the next 10 days. Good news is this isn't going to be a hard freeze or a light freeze. We're looking at frost, though, nonetheless. Want to bring in those tender plants. That's my second reminder in this newscast, and I'll do one more at the end. Frost advisory till 8 o'clock in the morning for pretty much all of the WISC viewing area. Far southwest Wisconsin, yes, you still could see a bit of patchy frost tonight. Low temperatures tonight, 33 tied in Camp Douglas over towards Marquette, Green Lake counties, Baraboo area. Then we move south, Madison 34, 36 in Janesville, 37 in Platteville. Again, a lot of rolling hills over portions of far southern Wisconsin. In some of those low-lying areas, you may get that mercury down low enough into the mid-30s for a little bit of patchy frost as well. Speaking of frost and frost history and when we see that last 32-degree temperature, well, average last night at 32 or below is April 30th. The latest last night at 32 or below is May 10th, and 2024 last year, that last night that we were at 32 or below was April 25th. So just a little history. A little bit more about how frost works. Heat goes out to space. As heat goes out to space, you get frost to form, especially when there's nothing covering it. So that's why we say throw those sheets out there or bring those plants back inside to provide that cover. Where there is no cover, like a tree with leaves on it, then you get frost formation out in those open lying areas. That's how that works. Just thought I'd share that with you. After a frost tonight, Friday, sunny, a warmer day. Weekend, that's when the 80s return to answer that question. And those 80s are going to stick around. Upper 70s, lower 80s, all the way through the 10-day period here. This looks like June and July type weather, and we're only in the middle of May. So this may be starting a trend here of some warm stuff here. And when you've got that warm stuff for a prolonged period of time, we're still reeling with some drought conditions along the Wisconsin-Illinois border. You need some water, too, to help compensate with that dryness. And what we're seeing here, latest updates, again, this could change over the next 10 days. Water's not looking very plentiful across the state of Wisconsin, 1/4 to 1/2 inch. This is a significant change from yesterday and earlier, where I thought maybe we'd have a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch over the next 10 days. But as we go further into May, according to the Climate Prediction Center, our longer-term weather models are suggesting for a good part of the country a slight increase, a little bit above normal for precipitation chances, which would be good. We go out of that long, dry, warm stretch, and we will need a couple of those raindrops. Mother's Day is going to be beautiful at 79 degrees, and then there's the sprinkling of the 80s. But unfortunately, we need more in the way of the sprinkles in the forecast here, if not raindrops across the area. A couple rain chances next week, but none of those chances are looking very widespread at this point in time, even as we head towards the event in Stoughton, as we head Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Looks like the best chance of rain will be Sunday in the event.
And we need to rain our plants, too.
Yep, bring in the plants, too, and yes, the plants need some water as well.
Exactly. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Zach.
And coming up in sports, representing Wisconsin on the world stage, which Badgers will play for their countries in the Volleyball National League. That's next on News 3 Now. Wisconsin volleyball will be well represented in the Volleyball Nations League this summer, with 4 Badgers selected to play for 3 different countries against the world's best in the 18-team tournament. Dana Retke and Sarah Franklin will team up on Team USA, while Julia Orzel will play for her home country of Poland, and Anna Smrek will represent Canada. Pool play begins in June. Well, nothing makes a quarterback smile more than seeing his team add some new weapons for him to throw to in the draft, and that's exactly what the Packers did for Jordan Love. For the first time in franchise history, Green Bay took 2 receivers in the first 3 rounds. Now, how much will Matthew Golden and Savion Williams be used in the offense? Well, that's to be determined, but Love is excited to work with his brand new wideouts.
Yeah, I've talked to them. They were actually doing rookie minicamp this last weekend, and we weren't here for that. So, I briefly shot all those guys a text after they got drafted, just congratulating them, tell them we're ready to get ready for work. But, I think next week, once they get back in the building with us, we'll have some more communication and be able to see what those guys are all about. But I'm excited to get to work with them.
Now, the Packers had their rookie minicamp last week. The Colts kick theirs off tomorrow, and Hunter Wohler is already in the building down in Indy. The former Badger and the rest of his new rookie teammates got all checked in ahead of day one of the camp. Wohler was taken in the 7th round by the Colts. Well, let's kick it. Madison West hosting Middleton in a battle between the top 2 teams in the Big 8. Scoreless in the second half. Cardinals with the free kick, and Ursula Anstadt sends an absolute beauty into the back of the net. That'd be your golden goal. Middleton wins this one 2-0 the final. Well, the opening round of the WIAC baseball tournament was today, and Platteville took down the regular season champs Whitewater 6-3. Now the Pioneers move on in the winners bracket and will face UW Oshkosh tomorrow, while the Warhawks will face UWL in an elimination game. And this is the best thing you'll see all week. After months and months of planning, our very own Andrew Banstro pulled off the perfect surprise with a little help from the Mallards to pop the question to his longtime girlfriend, Sam. And her answer, of course, was yes. Big time congrats to the two of them. We'll be right back.
Tonight, the first American Pope.
There's all new with Bill Gates. CBS Tonight.
And on News 3 Now this morning, an adventure 65 million years in the making is coming to Madison. The morning team sets out to learn more about Jurassic Quest ahead of the Alliant Energy Center's prehistoric makeover. And finally tonight, a new study finds that the world's most famous dinosaur may not be as American as we all thought. I think that's Sue down at the Field Museum in Chicago. Paleontologists used mathematical modeling to conclude that the T-Rex's ancestors probably crossed the Bering Strait between modern-day Siberia and Alaska about 70 million years ago.
That's all? Well, this finding tracks with past research that suggests that these dinosaurs were more closely related to the top predators in Asia than those in North America. The study's authors say there could still be fossils of T-Rex ancestors undiscovered in Asia. It never ends.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Well, Alex is back. Final check of the forecast, and you're going to remind us once again, frost is coming. Get those
final reminder for the day. You probably heard it infinite amount of times. Yes, bring in those plants if you haven't done so already. Temperatures in the low to mid 30s for a good portion of southern Wisconsin, even those upper 30s, far southwest Wisconsin areas towards the Wisconsin-Illinois border. You also stand the risk of seeing some patchy frost, if not widespread frost tonight. I don't think there's going to be much frost in our future. This may be the very last one, hopefully, because as we look at our 10-day forecast here, our temperatures upper 70s, lower 80s, lows in the 50s to near 60 degrees, taking us all the way out to day 10.
We're going to need air conditioning.
We are going to need to put the air on. Mine's already on.
Alex, thanks. Thanks for joining us, folks.
Have a good night.